welcome again to Frecuencias bajas, Charlas musicales, episode 125. We are very happy today to be again with you in Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube, and also have the opportunity to welcome our guests, who are we going to introduce in a few minutes. Remember to subscribe to our YouTube channel and click on the small bell so you don't lose any of the new episodes in Spanish or English. We are very happy to have him today, but first I'm going to say hello to Mike.
Well, hello again. Technology works that way. I remember whenever we started it, we only had like 2 cell phones and poor connection. And now like we're trying to stream in several platforms and do all of this. This is one of the kind of the examples of the learning curve that musicians have to deal with nowadays with the pandemic and all of that. So I'm very happy to be here, and let's welcome our guest today. We know that an hour goes very fast, and there's a lot to talk with our guest today. So
exactly. So Wilfried Brandstötter, as we say before, he is a national tuba player, very well known because he is a member of the Mnozil Brass, but also he is a dean at the Privatuniversität Anton Bruckner in Austria. He is, or he have played also contemporary music, and he was member of orchestra, and he also is a tuba professor. So Willy, welcome. We are very happy to have you here today.
Thanks very much for having me. Thanks for inviting me.
That is a pleasure. And as David said, 1 hour runs very, very fast. So let's start. You have a very wide CV and a very wide experience in all the musical business today. You was a fixed member of orchestra and then playing contemporary music and stuff. So what is your view as a professor for university when you work with your students about these wider opportunities that you have had in your career to prepare them for the 21st century from the business career, from the music career?
When I started my career, there was not such a thing like a plan to have this a wide variety of options. It more or less came by coincidence. That I worked in so many fields, but nowadays it helps me a lot to understand a lot of processes that are going on in the music world, and it helps me to explain to my students how they can prepare for different situations, how they can prepare different music, how they can match the many aspects of their musical living.
Okay, do you think it is a thing today to, when you prepare yourself in a university of music, to try to be as wider as possible? Because my feeling in many universities is that many universities try to still preparing and training the students to just play in orchestra. What is your thing on that?
Well, the thing is, on the one hand, it's a good thing to prepare yourself for auditions for an orchestra, because this demands a lot of discipline and a lot of skills in playing. So whether you can make it into an orchestra or not, it makes no difference. That you have to work very carefully on all the excerpts, on your technique, on your range, on your tonal quality. So this is a very supportive thing. But on the other hand, when you watch the numbers, only like 5% make it into the orchestra. So it makes no sense maybe to expect everyone to be in the orchestra in the end. So it makes more sense. When I work with my students, normally they come to university and they say, I want to be a professional tuba player. And most of them do not really know what that means in the end. And they do not know all the different fields that our job can offer you, or our instrument can offer you. And then we go on a journey together. And mostly after 1 or 2 years, I try to make them think what they want to achieve in the end. If they want to become a teacher, tuba teacher, if they want to become a tuba player in a symphony orchestra, if they want to be a freelancer, and it's different with everyone, I guess, because I've had players that were very good, and when we talked, they said, "Look, I've played a couple of times in the symphony orchestra. It's not my world because it doesn't give me the freedom I want to have." So, and there are other players who say, "I absolutely want to be in the symphony orchestra because I love the sound so very much. It's nice playing with like 80, 70, 80, 90 people and create like recreate a Bruckner symphony or a Mahler symphony." So that's great. And then I try to help them to achieve their goals.
Very interesting. Like, I agree with you, trying to work with the student and see what they want. And you said something that really resonated with me, is that so many times we have a picture of what we want to do, but we don't even know what that looks like at the end. And in so many cases, whenever you reach that point, wherever you thought you were going to be happy and fulfilled, you realize that that's not your thing. But that's a very good thing to have a teacher or a professor, somebody guiding you that knows so well the business. And I wanted to pick your brain about your managerial skills. Everybody knows Mnozil Brass, everybody knows how they sound, but I want to go back to that time in 1992, whenever you guys decided to get together. Like, just tell us about like what the initial project is and how it started changing towards the years, and how you started managing success. Because one thing is like talking to friends and getting together and those first rehearsals and see what happens. But then when things start growing, like tell us a little bit about your evolution from being a player and bringing in ideas about what to do musically to that area where you're all of a sudden in correspondence with people or trying to book gigs. So talk to us a little bit about the evolution of the group and what it meant in terms of the managerial skills to keep it going.
Well, for us, in the beginning, it was kind of easy, I guess, because there was not a plan to make a group or to form a group and to travel the world with it. So I guess many people have heard the story. We started playing in a pub, which is called Mnozil. That's a Czech family name. And the old owner of it, he's still alive. He's 92 now. And so it was his pub, and this pub was right in front of the Viennese Music University. And there was a jam session once a month, and everyone could join in there. So we went there. We came all from various brass bands and wind bands from the Austrian countryside, and what we all brought was like this kind of traditional Austrian folk music. So we could play a lot of polkas, a lot of marches, waltzes, whatever. And for instance, I was like socialized in a farmer's band, in fact, and we played weddings, we played funerals, and most of the players were not skilled players, but they played everything by heart. So we played weddings in Austria. In the old days, weddings started at like 11 or 12 o'clock. And then you played through till midnight. And I was starting at the flugelhorn when I was young. And the old player said, just, sit beside me and play with us. And I said, well, what do we, yeah, you will hear it. And then I was sitting there and I was checking them, what the fingerings they used and some of the tunes I knew. And the good thing was no one ever judged me and said there was a wrong note here and there, because they didn't care. It was just about having fun playing together. So that made it very easy. And then we started playing with Mnozil in this inn. And we also had the first 2, 3, 4 years, there was no economic pressure behind it. We just had time to develop our skills, to develop our style, to have fun. We found out very soon that singing is a great thing. because it helps you save a lot of embouchure. And and also because it's more direct than playing. Singing is very touching. Whether you sing in German, English, or another language doesn't make a difference. Singing is touching people straight by their heart. And so we had this trying out period for a couple of years, and then we started playing again on funerals, on marches. We played like organic markets in Austria just for food and drinks, and it was great because we were students. We didn't have any money, so we got food, we got enough drinks, and we enjoyed it. And then after a couple of years, we had first gigs in Vienna, around Vienna, then in the Austrian counties, and then first travel to Bavaria was great. And so it just came very slowly. There was not such a point where it exploded. It just was coming little by little.
Okay, and then I want to know, like, in one moment, like, you started adding sketches and adding all these like performance component other than playing the instrument. Like, whose idea was that, and how did you guys work it out so you had like a common idea of what things wanted to go towards?
Yeah. The thing was, when we performed or played in the pub and on the street, people were not paying money to hear us. So we found out very soon that we had to entertain them. And so a good thing to entertain people is always humor. It's a good middle of transportation. And so there was always a lot of joking in the band. The problem was there was way too much joking in the band. And if 5 people do different jokes, the audience has no chance to focus on something. So after a couple of years, we started working with the director, and he just told us, you be quiet, and you make the joke now, and then it's your turn, and then it's the next guy's turn. So we had to like straighten it a little bit and like making it a bit more pure, because it was like an explosion of ideas all the time, but no one could follow the ideas because it was way too many.
Yeah, and just to like close this part of the conversation, it makes me think like about the number of hours that you get together just playing for fun, and that starts building up like a personality, that starts building up a bunch of ideas. It just I couldn't avoid thinking about, like, for example, what the Beatles did back in the day, that they toured like even Germany in some pubs, and so at the time they exploded, is not that it was a phenomenon that happened overnight. They already had all those hours logged in their performance. So it makes me think about that. And the other thing is like the informality of the venues where you started. It's very different whenever you have an established audience and you know the etiquette of the place you're gonna go, like a concert hall or a recital hall. But being in the middle of the fun, you know, people are not, I mean, the music is just part of the environment. I think that gives you guys, like, that gave you certain freedom to start experimenting. So it's very, very nice to hear like the origin of the group from you.
I mean, there is a big comparison between the two things you asked me at the beginning, between the university and the thing we do with Mnozil Brass. I mean, the basic of everything is the music, and it's the quality of music. So this work has to be done. It's not enough to joke around, but not having the quality in the music. And that's the same with the students. That when we talked about the auditions, or like auditioning for making an audition for an orchestra, you have to have the quality in your playing, and that gives you a lot of freedom to choose what you want to do. And that's the same with Mnozil Brass, because we always the music was always the core of it, and then around it we made a lot of different things. We made a lot of projects. We made a lot of different ideas. We worked with different people, but I would say that the basics of it all is the music.
That's amazing.
Yeah, I love that idea. So many times we just chasing the rabbit. So many times we want to be just tuba players, and we forget that music should be. Music is the reason why we started to do this in the first place, and then for some reason along the way we just get too busy thinking about technique and about sound, and at the end, like the music starts suffering. Or in many cases, what I've seen is that education it's a little bit short on that. They're so focused on you passing your subjects, you meeting the goals, that whenever it comes to presenting like a rounded musical product, like it lacks interest. You know, so many times as tuba players, we lose the audience in the second, third note. The idea is to keep them engaged in music. So
Yes.
thank you so much for reminding us that when music is at the center of everything, everything around it starts happening. So that's a good reminder. Yeah,
that's right. And really, you're a tuba player. We both do, and we know tuba players listen the two syllables to the words no a lot of times. So how have been the manager for Mnozil Brass for 10 years? How was at the beginning? It was a lot of no, and you was working and pursuing people just to get the venues to play on. And as far as the years go by and Mnozil Brass was more known, was more like getting calls, or in the period in between was also pursuing venues and getting calls at the same time? And how is now? I mean, you have been 10 years the manager of the group. How is that?
I'd say that the most important thing at the beginning was to see the potential of the group, and I guess it was that was really the point, because we were all engaged in different projects. I followed up a career as an orchestra musician. I played with the Klangforum Vienna. The other guys played all kinds of various bands, styles, music, whatever. And to focus and to bring it together, I think that was the most important thing in the first years, maybe after 10 years. And we came to a point after, I'd say it was around 2003, 2004, when we realized, okay, we are playing 40, 50, 60 gigs now a year, but we don't have enough focus on the band. And that's when we decided to leave everything behind. So I went out of the orchestra, the other guys quit their jobs, teaching jobs. That was a very hard thing to do. And we did not know at that point if it would go up or down, because we knew there was a chance that it would go up, but it could also have gone down, because before us there was Canadian brass, of course, which we still like very much. They were the heroes in the market. No one was waiting for us, and or for other brass groups. And we were the first to play in a different setting with 7 people. So it was kind of a new thing, and we did not know in which direction it would go. And I still remember the day when I quit my job, because we all discussed it with our wives if they would agree. And my wife and me, we were expecting our second kid, and so that's a hard thing to quit the orchestra then and to say, okay, I go be a freelancer again, kind of a freelancer. And yeah, it was a tough decision for everyone. But in the end, it paid off, because now we know that it worked, and we've been on the market now for 30 years. But in those days, it was like jumping into the cold water.
So if you could give us hints about like how to start, like you already said, like the musical product has to be there, and if something characterizes Mnozil Brass is the specificity of what you have to offer. So you're very particular in what you offer. You have a round product. However, we've seen in life, not only in music, a good product that lacks publicity or lacks relationship can disappear from whatever industry the product is placed on. What could you share with us about like building audiences, and most importantly, now that you had your talk with your family, I cannot imagine having that talk with my wife and say like, okay, I'm gonna quit my job and I don't know if this is gonna happen. Man, that's a tough conversation. I don't want to be in your shoes, but now you have to work to get those gigs. Like, what are those strategies to start booking venues?
Yes,
even
for us,
so many times.
Yeah, it was not mainly about looking for venues. It was about working on the product, developing the product, making it better, working together with professionals. We started working with a director in 2000. We started working with a choreographer in the year 2000. So we knew that we were just simple musicians. In fact, we are not dancers. We are no singers. We are, we are tuba players, trumpet players, trombone players, with a lot of skills and experience from other fields, but still bound to our instrument, I'd say. And so we were looking for help from the outside. Let's call it an objective eye from the outside. And then I think we had good luck that we get along well as people. And I'm doing at the university, I'm also holding classes how to exactly about the things we are talking now. And the thing I'm telling my students is, when you have the feeling that there is a person in the band that does not belong there, change it. You have to talk about it, find a new person. If you have one person that says, no, I don't want to play on Saturdays, well, either you can't play on Saturdays, or you find a person that wants to play on Saturdays. And in the early stage, I think that's a very important thing, because you need to put all the energy in one direction. And second thing is, stay together. When you're sure that you are okay, that you're doing well, stay together, keep up the good work, and just go for it.
I think it's very important, because also I have my feeling from the outside when I see Mnozil Brass is that you have found a group of people who works, and that is very difficult to find. Very difficult to find, to have people to, as you say, push the energy in this to the same way. Of course, probably I don't know the small details that probably you change some people, but at the end of the day, you found 7 people who are pushing in the same direction, and it's working very well.
Yeah. In fact, we had only 2 changes in the band, and they left. Like, Sultan is the youngest member in the band, Sultan Kish, the trombone player, and he came in 2005. So it's not really a lot of changes. And the thing is, of course, we have also struggles in the band, a lot of discussions. We hate practicing. We hate working on new projects, because it's very demanding. We always start from scratch. There's nothing like a libretto or a written score. So the thing is, we are always developing shows from zero, which, and we have gone through this process now for like 16, 17, 18 times. That costs you a lot of energy. And of course, in the middle of the process, you hate each other. Well, that's fine. But that's how it is. I mean,
but I think it is extremely important that you say that, because many people see Mnozil Brass and they think you get together, you drink beer, you play some music, and they go on stage and play a show. And it isn't that way, right?
No, it's not that way. When we worked on, like, we had very large projects. We made an opera for the Salzburg Festival. We opened the Wagner Jubilee year, the 200th birthday of Richard Wagner in Bayreuth. We were invited by the city of Bayreuth to open the Wagner year. We made a big operetta for the Ruhr Triennale, which is a huge festival in Germany. And for these projects, we rehearsed for like a year. And in the hot phase, in the end, we stick together for like 2 months, and we rehearsed every day for 6, 7, 8 hours. And well, that's not a period of love and peace, I can tell you. That's
amazing.
Yes.
Yeah, and you kind of gave us a glimpse of what my next question is, like what a normal day of Mnozil Brass looks like, or a regular season. Like, how often do you guys get together? Like, where do you rehearse? Like all those little details that perhaps for people that are going to hear this or are hearing this, like, can serve as inspiration of a model to start like seeking that same opportunity that you guys created for yourselves.
When we work on new projects, of course, there's a lot of rehearsing, and you have to fix rehearsing times. We normally start at 9 or 9:30 in the morning, and don't rehearse longer than 4 or 5 in the afternoon, because then everyone wants to get home to his family, to the kids. We have about, I guess, 18 or 19 kids in the band, from the age of 2 to the age of, I guess, 31 now. So it's a very broad variety, and that's it mainly. And we know, okay, the premiere is on this and this day, and we have to be ready by then. And
so now, after all these years, like having success and changing programs, do you still have that pool of people that you mentioned at the beginning, like a director, a choreographer, or have you acquired enough experience already to feel like, okay, we can do this ourselves?
We have discussions in the band if we should do it or not by ourselves, but till now we always have decided to get some extra people in. And for the next year, for our anniversary year, we are working on a new show, and we're in contact with a new person to help us, to support us, to bring in new ideas. Because sometimes you have the feeling, okay, we've been doing this for 30 years. We have followed up every idea. We have made pieces of, like, we've played a lot of different music. We've played so many pieces, I can't even remember some of them. And I mean, they're just gone. You play them for 1 or 2 years, and then they're gone. And then you listen, sometimes you listen to your own music and you think, wow, yeah, cool piece. Wow, that was nice. Okay. And you don't even remember that you performed it.
Yeah, I bet it should be nuts. And Patricio and I were talking, like, what are we gonna ask Will, like that day? I was a little bit like not afraid, but I was like, man, with all that experience, I wanna ask the right questions. And as tuba players and musicians, we came up with the same question. It's like, how do you memorize so many music? And then if you can share with our students, people that hear us, like some techniques to do so.
Yes.
I say that whenever you have someone that is not glued to the score, like you can see faces, you can perform, it makes for a very interesting interaction, and performance. So anything you can share about that big feat of learning so much music would be appreciated. Yeah.
Okay. That's a question we get frequently asked, in fact. And we don't even think about it anymore because we're so used to it. And the thing is, to give you a brief answer, I think it's mainly about being self-confident, working on stage and not using a score. That's the main problem behind it. And how can you learn it? In fact, I think that we are repeating the pieces we are performing very often. Each of us does it like that. When I don't know, the Vaughan Williams concerto or any other concerto, you've played it 1,000 times. So in fact, your brain has it. the full score. No doubt about it. You do not need the score anymore because you've played it up and down during days and nights. Then you have to make this step to start playing like the first 5 bars by heart, then the first 7, the first 10, and just develop it and get used to it. And that's it. It's all about being used to it. It's not about some people know how to do it and the others don't. Because it's funny. Do you see a lot of piano players who are playing with a score, like the big piano concertos? And I mean, how many notes do they play and how many notes do we play?
And I agree with you. And I want to share something personal that happened to me. Whenever I was in college, you take functional piano, you know, so
Yeah.
harmonies here, harmonize this. And I found myself very often learning everything by heart. The fingers knew where to go. It was awesome. And then it struck me that why that wasn't happening with the tuba, even though whenever you play the piano, you play like even more notes at the same time, harmonies whenever you play the piano and not the tuba. But it's very interesting what you're saying, because most of the piano players, like they don't use score after a while,
and they have a few notes to play,
and they have many notes to play.
Absolutely. And I mean, it's not so hard to do it, I guess. The one thing is, I think we do all not sing enough. We should sing much more. And I think there are different ways of playing a piece by heart. Either you think it harmonically, like more in an analytic way, or as I do, I hear the melody very often. I just follow up the line I hear in my head. I just go for it. And I do not think what's the next note I have to play. I do not see a score in my head, not at all. I know I have to prepare myself carefully. And when I'm like preparing a premiere, I'm recording the pieces we play in the rehearsals, because of course we work with sheet music as well, like everyone else does. Some pieces we develop out of nothing without any score, like the Fledermaus Overture, or pieces like that, or the Bohemian Rhapsody. We still don't have a score for that, but we listen very often to it. But the thing is, mainly we work with sheet music, and then we repeat it, and then I record it. And during the rehearsing process, I learn like 60-70% automatically. I do not have to think about it. When I try to repeat it, I know this, I know that. And then it comes to these tricky bars, and you have to learn them note by note. So I learn it, I repeat it at home with the things I have recorded. I just play with my own recording. It's like a play along.
Yeah, I'm just surprised. Like, it's nothing extraordinary, you know. No. Sometimes whenever people make that question, I think they're expecting the super Asian technique that was developed somewhere strange. But
okay, now I tell you the truth.
There you go.
Mnozil Brass, super brains, all of us. We just watch the score once. Yeah, just a glimpse of it, a photographic memory, and then we just play, and we never rehearse, and we don't practice. That's the secret.
So you see, you're super special human beings, man.
Yes, you are.
Yeah. So and that's what we love about these conversations. So many times, and whenever we started with this, I told Patricio, so many times you imagine the artist, like the guy that plays the tuba, the super trombone player, and you imagine them as having a super special life. And then you meet them and they have to catch the train, they have problems with the airline, the flights change.
They need to practice.
They're in the middle of the practice, and then family happens. And I love this kind of conversation because it puts what you do like a lot closer to people that want to do it, you know, and you realize that there is a fair amount of consistency, of course, there is a fair amount of thinking through what you want to be and going for it and making very, very important decisions. Like I keep coming back to the decision of leaving an orchestra job to engage in a more freelance, uncertain career. And we know that. But then we start idealizing that the music, we start thinking like, okay, this guy can hit those high notes just because he was born that way. This guy can memorize all this music just because their brain is superior. But then we realize through the conversation that it's about what you do every single day and very, very consequential with what you want to do.
But I will say that their superpower is that these guys like Willy, they sit down and do it.
Yeah.
And a lot of other people, they want to have the same what Willy already have, but they are not
putting on the work.
Yeah. So
that's for sure. That's for granted. There are no shortcuts, not at all. You have to go, go the whole way.
I had never heard that before. There's no shortcuts. That's a beautiful, beautiful phrase.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. So then I'm a parent now, you know, and Patricio has been in my place the past few days, and he sees the family interaction. So the other day, for example, we were in the middle of doing our fundamentals, and then I got a call from my wife that the baby was sick. So everything drops at the moment, and you go take care of your family. How's that balance between like moving this group and keeping your family together, you know, because you're gone, your kids are growing, without prying, without being like, I don't want to like get into your personal life too much, but give us a glimpse of how do you manage that, and how do you manage to be a parent and still keep that musical product that has no shortcuts, like it's unforgiving. So give us like a glimpse of that balance of family and a professional career.
As we said before, I think for every decision you have to pay a price, and when you want to be a musician, you are paying a price, and the price for being like on the road with Mnozil Brass a lot of time is the price that you miss a lot of happenings that happen in your family.
Yeah.
For instance, you miss weddings of your friends. I missed one christening of my own daughter. No, it was not a christening. Well, what was it? She was about 6-7 years old. I was not there. And for instance, when I have 3 kids, and when my second one was born, my son, I was leaving after his birth like 6-7 days, and we went to Japan for like a month or so, and that's the price you pay. That's how it is. And that's not cozy. That's not funny. You don't like it. You hate it in that moment. But you know, okay, we fixed this tour 2 years ago, and there's no substitute for it. You have to go.
Yeah,
that's it. And you pay. And of course, you. I mean, I have the luck. My wife and me have been together now for like 25 years, and we still love each other very much. So I have a good luck. And
I have a theory. It's because you're gone too much, so she hasn't grown tired of you.
That's very true. And we're having a lot of fun about it too. We've been together for 25 years now, but in fact, it was only 5 years.
Oh, that's so funny.
That's nice. That's very nice.
Yeah,
I mean, that's the one thing I wanted to mention. And of course, you can be a good dad and a good loving father and loving your wife. I guess that's a decision you make. It's not about being on the road. It makes it impossible to have a family or so. That's bullshit. But of course you're paying a price. And the second thing, I guess, is you should not think too much about your work-life balance, because it's not possible. Either you have a nice, cozy work-life balance and everything is fine, and you have your hours off and you have your holidays and you have everything, but then you're not maybe the born musician for life on the road. That's not possible.
Very nice.
That's
I
very nice.
love this answer. Now, let's go to your administration career, because
Yes.
I know you're a dean at a university in Linz.
Yes.
Tell us a little bit of what you do there and what kind of skills you have to perform what you do. Because
Okay.
I'm trying like to show that, you know, you can be a tuba player, but you also would need to be an administrator. You also would need to be a creator, highlighting like all of these possibilities that music brings. And when we talk to you, you're like a textbook example of what a life in music
Can be.
you know. So talk to us a little bit about your administration side and how you get involved in that, and what is it that you do and what is it that you're trying to achieve.
I must say that I am very happy that we have a very powerful tuba player with us today, who is still at university and also keep playing.
Yes.
Well, just to give you a brief impression about the Bruckner University where I work, I made an audition there in 2004 for the position of a tuba teacher, and I've been working there since as a tuba teacher. And in 2015, we have 12 departments at the university. We have about 900 students, about 250, 300 staff. It's only a music university, so we are not a department of a bigger university. It's a pure music university. We have music, we have drama, and we have dance at the university. In total, we have 12 departments, plus all the administration. And in 2015, I became the head of the brass and drums department, because another colleague he retired. And then I became part of, we call it the Senat, which is a big, like a group of 25 people, where a lot of decisions are discussed. And I was in the Senate for 2 years. And then I was asked by the director of the university, if I wanted to become a member of the board. And in those days we were like 5 persons in the board: director, 1 vice director, 2 deans, and a tough lady responsible for the money of the minister. And so yeah, I've been, and now we have another director. We since 1 year, so we have there came another person in, a second vice director. So we are 6 persons now in the board, and in fact we are running the university. And I'm the dean of the artistic studies, so I'm responsible for mostly anything that's going on in the artistic field. But of course we share the duties. We have also a vice president for research. We have a vice president for the arts and for artistic things. So and well, in fact, I'm at the university almost every day. I'm responsible for a lot of exams. I'm responsible for a lot of auditions, for some money things, for hiring people. I'm preparing a lot of things for the board. Well, that's, yeah, in fact, a kind of an, I'd say, university career I'm having.
Yeah, very interesting. And then like talk to us about like we always try to ask about like opportunities for international students, like for recruiting. What are the possibilities of Latin Americans, for example, being able to find a way to go study in your university? Like what does a process to enroll in the University of the Accepted looks like?
Yeah, well, we have a normal enrollment process. So people have to send us an application, and we always do the first round on video. So they do not have to fly over to join us for the first round. And then we pick people for the second round. And the second round is at the university. It's another artistic round. And the people who survive that round, I call it, are passing on to the third round, which is a theoretical exam, and we test their musical skills then, and well, and after that you are accepted.
And which kind of degrees do you have at the university?
We have the full program. We have bachelor's degrees, master's degrees, and a doctorate.
Doctorate. Okay.
Yes. So you can go through the whole process.
And then in terms of the language requirement, what are you guys looking for?
At our university, it's German as the main language. But if you're not German speaking, you have 1 year to make some exams to prove that you have at least certain skills in German. So that's possible to achieve. That's not a problem. We don't have a language barrier, and we do also have one department, for instance, the dance department. They are fully English spoken, so they are teaching in English. All the exams are taking place in English. So that's.
And in your tuba class, do you have mostly probably Austrian players, but do you have now international students?
It's different every year a little bit. I have normally mainly Austrian German students, and at the moment I have a guy on Erasmus. He's from Poland, but came in from Germany. I've also had a lady for Erasmus, for instance, from Italy, one guy from Finland. So it's a broad mixture, in fact.
Cool.
Yeah.
So I need to ask these questions because, I mean, you are the guy. If I ask you, exactly. If I ask you Mnozil Brass or orchestra, what will you say as a tuba player?
Well, I made the decision for Mnozil Brass because I was playing in the orchestra for 4 years. I had the solo position at the Tonkunstlor Orchestra, which is based in Vienna, and playing in and around Vienna. For me, it was a good decision to leave the orchestra because I felt that would not make me happy in the long run.
Yeah.
But I loved playing in the orchestra. When I was young, I played as a substitute a lot with the Vienna Symphonic Orchestra. I played with at the Vienna State Opera House, the Wiener Philharmoniker, and then I got the position at the Tonkunstlor Orchestra. So I had, I guess, like 10, 15 years where I played mainly in the symphony orchestra. And I love the job. It's great. Like, the sound is not comparable with anything else.
Mm-hmm.
But then for me, it was like getting some freedom back and leaving the orchestra for Mnozil Brass. And when I left the orchestra, like 1 or 2 years later, I got the position at the Bruckner University. So I did not follow a career plan or something, because I think what we do, it's not possible to have a plan. It's just like being open for opportunities you get. Mm-hmm. And when the opportunity comes, be ready and say yes.
That's important, to say yes.
Yes.
So what advice would you give to a young player that's starting his career and perhaps still doesn't know what he wants to do, but has good potential and is putting the instrument in his face every day? Mm-hmm. As a professor, as a mentor, what are the things that you tell your students to look for and to be aware of whenever they are in this career?
I mean, of course, practice and be in a good relationship with your teacher, because if that relationship is good, that helps you a lot. Because I think we mainly work on, as teachers, we all know it, it's you mainly work on psychological things, I guess. It's not about technical technique. It's
We have-
most players, most young players are fantastic players, but every one of us carries this little rucksack with him. With you have this little devil on your right shoulder sitting, telling you it's not possible. Yeah, you can't do it. You're not able to do it. You're not good enough. Blah blah blah. All these kind of stupid things. And so I think our main job as teachers is to support them, to sometimes to carry them when they have tough times, and let them go, of course. When you feel they're ready, release them, let them go, and yeah, wish them all the best. And that's one thing. That's the musical part and the psychological part. On the other hand, I think is just develop your personality, find out what you want, find out what makes you happy, and follow that path. Because as we talked before, there's not one single, as we say, there's not one way to Rome. There are many ways that bring you to Rome, to the city of Rome. So follow the way that's your way, and not even when you study the tuba, you do not necessarily have to end up as a tuba player in the orchestra. There's so many jobs in the world. You can work in many musical fields, but you can also work in the backstage area, I'd say. Organize things. If you're like a management guy, well, why not try that thing? And well, it's
Absolutely.
people are so different. You never know what they will make in the end.
So you have a very wide career, and you have tried and do on professional levels a lot of activities. It is something that you will like to keep pursuing. I mean, you are a performance. I don't know how many gigs with Mnozil Brass have, but per year, but you have a lot, and you are a dean at the university. It is musically some dream there that you say, I would like to keep pursuing that. I would like to keep doing that, or you will say, okay, I have now what I was dreaming for, and it's good.
For me, it's like, I mean, we are all now in our early 50s. In fact, I'm 52 now. Sultan is the youngest guy. He's like 42. He's 10 years younger than me. But also Leonhard is like 56 now. Well, I think we've had 30 wonderful years. And if there are like 25 more years to come, I'm perfectly happy.
That sounds about right. I like that. Now that's beautiful, because I mean, again, as you say, we cannot plan exactly what is going to happen. We must say yes and then embrace what is coming to us, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So now that you have all this experience, how does a practice session, individual session, looks like for you?
Well,
You practice.
Well, if you do,
well, I have to admit, I practice. Well, the thing is, I'm really happy to find time to practice. And I remember the times when I was a student, I loved practicing. And I got up very early, sometimes came straight from like parties and went straight to the university and entered the building with the room cleaners in the morning at 6 o'clock in the morning, and started practicing because the rooms were available only at that time. And I love doing like practicing a lot. And now my work is so different. And normally I come home at like 6, 7, 8 o'clock from the university. Of course, sometimes I play with my students, but in fact, is a lot of bureaucracy I have to do, and a lot of other stuff. And it's not about teaching my students, but doing all the other kind of demanding things. And well, I come home at 7, 8 o'clock in the evening, and then I go down in the basement. I talk to my wife, of course, and I go down in the basement and practice, and I love it. Like, but it's not so much as it was like 25 years ago.
No,
we talked always with David.
Yeah, but I love what you're saying. I feel very identified with that. Because my practice sessions, like the other day, Patricio was doing something at the University of Maryland, and I went there for the recital. And on my way to the hall, I see all these young students in the practice room, practicing. I was like, oh man, I remember those good old days where that's all I had to do. And in fact, it was my duty to do so. And now, like, I'm find myself like trying to find the time to do it, and it looks a lot like you. It's like around 8 when the baby's already asleep, everything is off here. I'm in my basement. I'm finding that time. But I'm glad that you're saying that, because even after a long career and successful career, you say two things that I love about this conversation. Like, the first one is that there's no shortcuts. And the second one, you're supporting the idea by telling us that even though you're a dean, even though you have a lot of things through the day, you still grab your tuba and go for it. And I think that's very important. And we appreciate like you being so open about it. Yes.
And I mean,
that's love for the profession.
Yes. And my wife sometimes says, well, now I've heard you practice for like 30 years now, and you still practice. And one of the first things, my oldest daughter was singing, she did not sing children's song. She sang the Ride of the Valkyries. And I thought, well, like humming it when she was 3.
she probably is asking herself, when is this guy going to learn these passages?
when is he going to learn the whole opera? No, and to round it up a little bit, what makes me very happy is I have a lot of very successful students, and I know I have a wonderful career still, and I've achieved a lot of things, but it makes me very happy when some of my students win auditions in orchestras, when they are successful. Like I had one student who played with ensembles, you know, where they're really good. One played for 10 years in MnozilBrass-Band, if you know them. And
Yes.
Another guy plays in an Austrian band called Federspiel, and they're able to make a living as freelancers. And that makes me really proud. I have a lot of guys who are music teachers now, and they can make a living of it. And that's great, because it's like, I don't know, maybe 20 people, and they went through my class, and in the end, they could make a living with tuba playing. So that makes me really happy, because it's not about me, because I'm teaching at the university, but when I retire, the next person comes in. It's about the students. How can they achieve their goals? How can they make their living? What are their dreams? And I guess that we are here to help them make it come true.
And what I found very interesting of your career as a professor is that not all your tuba students are working as a professional level just in orchestra. And that is, I think, for the students, very important. As you say, it is about them.
You know, fact is, you can make some money in the orchestra, but you can also make a lot more money on the freelance market if you're smart. So that's,
if you're smart. Yes, I love that.
That's right.
Yep.
So, Billy, we are coming to the end. We don't have words to thank you, to use your time. I know we know that you are in a kind of small holidays right now. We see on the back a small tuba there. We ask you on off if it is you broke your tuba. No, you say it is the tuba is there. If I get the feeling that I need to practice. So thank you very much for taking your time to talk to us. I think it was if I may say, it was a very interesting talk about music and career and developing of a business in the musical career with a tuba in the hand, as you have done, and taking very tough decisions like quitting an orchestra and getting freelancing again with family and kids and stuff. So I would say what's extremely interesting. Thank you very much for taking the time.
Thank you so much. It was very nice to talk to you, and it was very nice to feel that you're human. You know, so
It's more
So I love that. I wish you the best in your career, and hopefully we'll cross paths again. Thank you very much.
Thanks very much for having me.
Yeah, was a pleasure. Thank you very much. And for all of you, don't remember next week, episode 126, we wait you in Frecuencias Bajas, Charlas Musicales. Bye bye.
Thank you. Bye bye.